Again, we are going to start the explanation, and again it is O-level notes or A-level skills about laboratory, simple materials. I'm also still Johnson RUTERANA, a teacher of chemistry, and sample of laboratory equipments, mostly apparatus, which are normally used. One we have there, it is goggles. We call them goggles, and these goggles, they are used to protect our eyes from chemical splashes. So it means that when we are conducting an experiment where it produces gases, when we need to protect our eyes, we use those goggles. Test tube clamp are used to hold the test tube during heating. So you fix in the test tube in the hands of this test tube clamp, and then it helps in heating the substances, mostly when we are conducting experiment. And once we want to measure the quantity of the substances, especially solutes, when we want to dissolve some chemicals or want to prepare the standard solutions, so we use this digital electronic balance. Separating funnel, it is an apparatus which is used to separate immiscible liquids. These are liquids which do not mix completely. So it means that during experimentation, they form two different layers. So this separating funnel, it has the top layer and is able to separate those two different liquids which has not mixed completely. Sometimes those liquids which do not mix completely, we call them heterogeneous mixtures. And then we have tripod stand used to support the apparatus during heating. For example, during heating the substances in a round bottom flask or flat bottom flask, we use tripod stand to support the apparatus during heating. We have cystofano used to put in liquids into reaction vessels while conducting experiments. Fixed fire extinguisher, very important while conducting an experiment and produce an accident that produce fire. So this fire extinguisher will help us to stop fire during the accident, mortar and pestle. It is another apparatuses. There's other apparatuses which are used to grind up some specimen. For example, in biology can be used, also in chemistry can be used to produce the small particles or powder during crushing of those substances. Spot plate, used to plate with multiple wells, used as small test tubes. So here you can separate the different substances using this flat plate. Filter funnel, very important for filtering and also for transferring liquids or other substances through a small opening materials or small opening apparatus. We have also conical flask used to hold liquids during experiment. Solutions has narrow neck to prevent splashes, so it is mostly very important. We have this volumetric flask or flat bottom flask used for preparing or for making standard solutions, or used for making up solutions to known volume. So it means that here when you want to prepare a standard solution, you are supposed to use this volumetric flask dropper used for adding liquids drop by drop. So it means that It measures the number of drops which are needed during experiments. Dropper pipette or disposable pipette. Burette is used to measure and transfer known volume of a fluid or a solution accurately. So here you need to identify the meniscus of the solution during titration. Crucible and its cover hold small amounts of chemicals while heating at high temperatures. So that cover, when you want to heat a substance, for example, during preparation of salts, for example, soluble salts, and then you put in the crucible, you heat and you cover it so that the water can evaporate and you remain with the viscous of the salt. Thermometers are very important in everyday life, especially in experiment to measure temperature. And also in our everyday life is used to measure our body temperature or temperatures for animals, but these are made specifically for measuring the temperatures, mostly for science use, for example in chemistry. Beaker used to hold, heat and measure volume of liquid, and it is very important in chemistry during preparation of solutions and dissolving some solutes in the solvent. Watch glass used to hold the solids which are being weighed. As we have already indicated, the balance and this watch glass can be used to hold these solids during measuring of the weight, or as a cover for a beaker during heating substances. Forceps, it is used to pick up smaller quantity or smaller solid particle. This is very important because some chemicals are very toxic, irritant to our body. We are not supposed or allowed to pick them using our hands, so we use forceps. Another experiment, in experiment which is most important, it is apparatus called the crucible tongs or pair of tongs, which is used to hold hot substances, or used to hold hot crucibles, lift chemicals or pieces of apparatus which are mostly very hot. So that one is very important. You cannot pick the apparatus or any other substance or heated metal which is hot with your hands. Evaporating dish, liquids are heated over a flame so that they can evaporate or leaving solid residues. Example, this is mostly used in heating or evaporating a mixture of salt and water. So here water will evaporate and you remain with some crystals of salt. Stirring rod, they are used for stirring. So when you want to mix a liquid like water together with the salt to make it dissolve completely, we use stirring rod. Pipette with pump is used to pull liquid up into a pipette. So it is a fixed two-way pipette and then squeezed on the lobed part, and then you detach it with your hands so that it can pick up the quantity of liquid from a substance. Bunsen burner, an apparatus which is mostly used in laboratory for producing heat and flame. So now this flame is most important and heat is most important during experiment. Measuring cylinder, they are used for measuring the volume of a liquid approximately. So here you have to consider and analyze properly the meniscus of the solution during the measuring of the volume of that liquid. It is also used to hold the laboratory glasswares. this is a clamp. It is used to fix the bullet during experiment, and it holds and puts it in the position so that the experiment can occur and perfectly be used and reach to the results, and then it makes it very important in chemistry. Volumetric pipette for measuring fixed volume of a liquid accurately. So it has a fixed volume. Example, about 25 milliliters. Streakers used to light a Bunsen burner. Very important. Can act as a matchbox for those who know matchbox, and it is used for lighting a Bunsen burner. Rubber stopper used to cover the ends of the test tubes or flasks during experiment. Spatula, it shapes like a spoon and used to pick up or transfer small chemicals in solids that can be transferred to a beaker or any flask. Wire gauze used to support a container such as beaker, flasks during heating, and it is used to display heat on the surface of the test tube. Test tube rack used to hold and support the test tube during experiment. Wash bottle used to rinse in various pieces of laboratory glasswares. These are ring stand and little stand. They are used to hold the apparatus in position while carrying out experiments, so they are very important. Ring clamp used with a ring stand to hold an apparatus, especially fixing the bullet. Clay triangle used to hold the crucible while crucible is heated. Test tube. It is open tube used to hold a small amount of liquid or solutions during experiments. So that one is a test tube. Weighing paper used for weighing and transferring powder and crystals. So it is put on the surface of the electronic balance, so that can be used to weigh some weight of different substances during experiment. Filter paper. It is a special paper used to separate solids from liquids. Magnetic mixer used to agitate mixtures automatically. It means that it can agitate the mixtures so that if those mixtures are in liquid, they can coagulate to produce solid substances, which can be analyzed by different apparatuses in advanced apparatuses. Fume hood used to prevent the person from exposure to hazardous fumes from experiment. So this one is very important because when you are performing experiment that produces toxic fumes, for example, like burning nitrate compounds which produce nitrogen dioxide, which is very toxic to the living organism, especially human who is performing experiment. So we perform that experiment using fume hood so that it can prevent us or a person from getting those hazardous fumes. So thank you very much for this lesson. We shall meet next lesson while explaining the meaning of Bunsen burner and the types of flame which it produces. Thank you very much.